Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and welcome to The Aftermath, a show where I take a look at a newly released film and I break down its opening weekend numbers and its critical response and its audience response and everything else in between that I can think of. And this week we're going to be taking a look at The Curse of La Llorona. That's right, The Curse of La Llorona. She wants your children. Look how scary that is. She's frightening as all hell. But this movie came out this weekend. It is a part of the Conjuring universe. It is a part of that whole franchise. A franchise that ultimately, at this point, I believe is 6 movies in now, and it's grossed over $1 billion. It's not really showing any signs of slowing down, considering that it opened up the weekend with about 25 million, and the predominant demographic for that were Hispanic families. So this is a movie that was basically made for them because it is set around that type of folklore. And it's interesting that they came out in droves to see it, but the audience response and the critical response is a little bit middling. However, according to the synopsis, set in 1970s Los Angeles, La Llorona is stalking the night and the children. Ignoring the eerie warning of a troubled mother suspected of child endangerment, a social worker and her own small kids are soon drawn into a frightening supernatural realm. Their only hope to survive La Llorona's deadly wrath may be the disillusioned priest and the mysticism he practices to keep the evil at bay, on the fringes of where fear and faith collide. It sounds pretty creepy and it sounds kind of cool. The trailer was pretty dope. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But again, this movie coming off of the Conjuring universe, it's known for one thing. It's known for producing spectacular results in regards to how much money it earns based off of a small ass budget. And this is where James Wan, as not only a creative entity, but a director and a producer, really shines because he knows how to put these projects together. In fact, coming over here to Box Office Mojo, we can see here that it brought in an estimated total of 26.5 million. I was off by a million, my mistake, for the opening weekend estimate here on a budget of only $9 million. That is already nearly 3 times the production budget just based off here in the United States. But looking down here at the worldwide foreign domestic total or foreign total, we see 30 million, giving us a worldwide total of $56 million. That's what, 7 times? That's 6 times roughly the worldwide or the production budget that they brought in the opening weekend of this movie. What does that mean? Well, that means that it is an absolute smashing success. Low budget horror will always have a home. It will always have a home. There's no question about it in my mind. And I find it very interesting that even a movie that coming over here to the cinema score, it looks good right off the bat with a B- cinema score, is definitely something that audiences are really going to be, I think, looking at those who pay attention to this particular score. But the Metacritic gives us something totally different here. So the Metacritic shows us a 41% based upon 24 critical reviews, with the vast majority of them at this point being mixed. So the vast majority of these reviews are ultimately mixed, and a lot of it's like, it was okay at parts, it was bad in other parts, and then the audience score on Metacritic isn't that much better. And coming over here to Rotten Tomatoes, we can see it's got a tomato meter of 32%, which is not good, with 99 reviews counted, but the audience score of 59% based off of only 223 reviews. Now, granted, this particular program does take place, right after the opening weekend or so, maybe within a week of a film coming out. So those things tend to change over time. But the initial reaction is kind of what it is. So taking a look here at what the critics are saying about The Curse of La Llorona, what we see is just not very good right off the bat. James Bertinelli here from Real Views says, when the movie goes boo and the viewer tries hard to stifle a yawn, there's something wrong there. Joshua Rothkopf here says, it may further the brand a bit, but it's the opposite of frightening. A sludgy collection of tired jump scares, inexpertly mounted period decor. In this time, a too shiny 1973 Los Angeles, and a continued slump into generic blahness. Katie Walsh from the LA Times here says, wail as she might, this silly, not scary The Curse of La Llorona never reaches the operatic heights that the best of the franchise can offer, with Richard Brody here giving it a positive review, saying what's missing from La Llorona is the element of world building, the mapping of the myth into a wider world in some more explicit and ample form than mere sudden apparition, with Lindsay Barr, again a negative review, saying the legend of La Llorona could inspire a whole universe of films on its own, but not with a kickoff like this. And then finally down here at the very bottom, we've got Bilge Abiri from New York Magazine saying it's a terrifying, terrifically scary movie that I wish were more haunting. So the critics were, I think, more on the negative side. But the idea there essentially is that the movie it relies on too many cliches, too many tropes, too many jump scares, and it doesn't have the world building that is needed to connect it to the larger universe. That was kind of what Annabelle did, if I recall correctly. Like, it was like, oh, it's a doll, but it's like, it's, who cares? It's a doll, but it made enough money to get a sequel, which then was a prequel, and now they're working on Annabelle 3. So these movies, they make freaking money, and you can tell they make money because when you look here at the audience score, this is what they say here. Titus K says 5 stars, one of the best movies in almost a decade. Okay. Ryan F gives it 2.5 stars, saying, although I did like this movie better than I thought I would, it was still predictable by the numbers in a movie we've seen many times before in scarier versions. I think the saving grace is Linda Cardinelli, but I also think she deserves better material to work with. Scooby-Doo 3 is what I want. We have a no name here with 1 star saying the movie was filled with nothing but filler. The writers did not know where to take it, and it could have been better written. With Elio D, 2 stars, saying the movie was all right in the beginning, but was quickly ruined by showing the ghost's entire face and body, which made it instantly less scary. The rules of her existence didn't make any sense. One minute she can go through walls, the next she can't. The storyline fell apart and was much more of a comedy than a horror, with Jeff K giving it 3.5 stars, saying surprisingly good, entertaining, and Mona B here at the bottom saying 5 stars. I loved it. This is a super fun popcorn movie for anybody who just wants to have a good time out. La Llorona herself was amazing. Her aesthetic and movement were perfect, and the sound was also a major part of the experience. I'm really glad we saw it in Dolby BC because it added a lot to fun. I jumped out of my seat every dang time. An ideal flick for all kinds of people who want to get their blood pumping and just enjoy a super fun flick with friends. I'm not going to lie, that one to me does come across a little bit on the, a little bit on the fluffed up side. But I mean, hey, it's her opinion, and her opinion is her opinion. So we can see that again, there's a mixed bag across the board when it comes to the critical and the audience ratings, but they're kind of on point. It's in the middle. It's mixed. The critics out of the 99 reviews counted are more about it than the audience, only at 223. But if you look at the audience score, what it generally says is that the movie was not well written. It still needed more world building, and they needed to kind of follow the own rules that they kind of created. Whether or not La Llorona can go through a wall one time and she doesn't go through a wall the next time, it's a bit confusing, and audiences pick up on that. But again, 26.5 million in its opening weekend is pretty freaking good. But then the question becomes, how does it compare to other films in the Conjuring universe? Well, according to Box Office Mojo's franchise page here, we see that right now it's doing okay. It's doing okay. It's probably on track to do very well. The Conjuring pulled in 137 million in domestic. The Nun, actually, which just came out last year, pulled in 117 million. The Conjuring 2, 102 million, and Annabelle Creation also 102 million, with Annabelle being the lowest of the bunch with 84 million. And I think it goes to show you the quality of the film Annabelle was. A little side note on that thing there. It was directed by the guy who went off to go make Mortal Kombat Annihilation, if you ever saw that one, and he just did The Silence for Netflix, which also is getting pretty rank reviews, but I need to watch it, and I'll get back to you guys on that one. So in regards to what the Conjuring universe is going to be giving us, this movie falls right in line box office wise with probably what actually no, going back to sorry, I did screw that up there. Looking at the opening box office numbers, it's actually lower than even Annabelle, only 26.5 million, with Annabelle pulling in 37 million. So while this movie will probably go on to do very well for the franchise itself, it's going to add, again, it's already made back like 6 times its production budget just in the opening weekend. It's already going to be a smashing success, and it looks like this movie could go on to gross more than probably The Nun and maybe even The Conjuring. But we did find out that there is going to be Annabelle Comes Home, which does open wide on June 28th, 2019. So they are very much going to be pumping out these movies, and The Conjuring 3 opens up September 11th, 2020. They just announced Conjuring 3 the other day, and I'm assuming that the untitled Conjuring Universe film for next year is going to be Conjuring 3, but it won't be directed by James Wan. At least that's what I was reading. I could be wrong on that front. So anyway, going back to the concept here of the Curse of La Llorona, and this horrifying tale set in the 1970s about a witch who drowns children, or a poltergeist who drowns children, a specter who drowns children. I think it's safe to say that what you get going into this movie ultimately is going to be what you expect. I think what your intentions are is what you're going to get out of it. It's very middle of the road according to both critics and fans, but it is low budget enough to where it's going to be profitable no matter what. It's already proved to be profitable, and it just goes to show you that this franchise, regardless of ups or downs, does have legs, provided that every once in a while there's a big film that comes along to really kind of re-solidify it, and that is its main core franchise, which is The Conjuring. All of the spin-off stuff is going to end up doing well. And it's just a big payday for Warner's because they spend almost no money making these movies, but the fans are clearly invested at this point in time. This to me comes across very much like the Paranormal Activity films, super low budget $5 million movies that go on to gross ungodly amounts of cash because the audience is so thoroughly invested. And I think that as these movies go off and explore different themes, like The Nun dealt with Catholic religion, this is dealing with a Mexican folklore, we're going to start seeing a lot of other elements at play. I wouldn't be surprised if down the road they release a Banshee movie, if they do something with that, because it's a specter, it's scary, and they could do it for super cheap, tied into this grander, larger universe, and then really just bring in a lot of cash. But they do need to work on their world building, which is why I think at this point, because of how many spinoffs there's been, probably an architect for the whole franchise going forward is going to be the best play, considering the fact that that was Walter Hamada, who is now running DC Films, and also taking it to the horror side of that, but that's a whole other thing for another time. Anyway, this was just the aftermath of the Curse of La Llorona. It opened up this weekend. I do want to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Let me know down in the comments below, and I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.